So January has a little bit of a bad rap. It's known for being a dumping ground for theatrical releases. I spent over 30 hours in the movie theater this month. I saw 14 movies, sci-fi, horror, comedy, action. I'm Jupiter, and welcome to my January wrap-up. I have AMC A-List, and I love to use it. So let's get started with the heavy hitters for the month. We're going to first start with my favorite of the month, the 28 Years Later Bone Temple, the second movie in the 28 Years franchise. I thought this was a great movie. It felt massive and post-apocalyptic and dangerous. I thought performance was incredibly compassionate in a world where compassion probably very limited. And then on the flip side of that, we have Jack O'Connell, whose character was genuinely terrifying. Jack O'Connell's character, to me, is more terrifying than the actual virus that they're dealing with. If you liked him in Sinner, he really doubled down on that intensity here. It was really great to watch. The biggest win would be Nikki DaCosta, the director. This movie was so great. It was really great to see her redeem herself from the Marvels. So many people were disappointed with that one and all the noise surrounding it. So it was great to see her really step it up and show us what she's able to do with this franchise, or what she's able to do with her piece of this pie. This movie, it perfectly started where the last film left off, and then I think it also executed setting up the next film just as well. So this one for me is definitely worth the stream. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up is Sin Helps. This was directed by Sam Raimi, and his influence and style is definitely there, and the tension he was able to build between the characters. The real reason to watch was Rachel McAdams. She was masterful on this one. Her character was absolutely calculated and felt like a true anti-hero. I love watching the contrast of this, of how they're in this place that's beautiful and it looks like paradise, but it's horrendous. They're in an absolute horrible situation. Yet one of the characters is having the best time of their life. This actually made me question the nature of evil. We see what our coworkers were willing to do to each other in a corporate setting, and then we see how ruthless McAdams could be. It is a chilling reminder that some people thrive in crisis. I thoroughly enjoyed this one, 3.5 stars out of 5, and I'm going to suggest stream it. Yeah, so next up is Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. This is an original sci-fi. It's pretty fast. It was definitely a blast to watch. It's very entertaining. It kept the pace really well. I did not look at my watch once. I was very engaged. It's a star-studded cast with Sam Rockwell, Zazie Beetz, Michael Pena, as well as Juno Temple. I am going to suggest seeing this one. Stream it if you can. I'll give it 3.5 stars. So the next up, closing up the list, we have Song Blue, which is a biopic about a Neil Diamond cover band. The true tearjerker. I cried so much as the highs and the lows had me really emotional. I definitely would recommend this. Even if you're not a fan or familiar with Neil Diamond, this was a great watch. Another 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then the final of my favorites would be Primate, which was a fun watch. It was a monster movie, a creature feature that used practical effects. The chimp was an actual person in a suit, which was really cool. It's very campy, but it's fun. It's a very fun watch. You can't take it very serious. I gave it 3 stars out of 5 and streamed this one. So January also gave us 2 very different, ambitious indie films. Both films prove you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to get your film seen, in that people are willing to, these smaller budget movies in theater. It also proved that sometimes less is more. Let's break down this indie face-off with Night Patrol versus The Iron Lung. So on one side, we have Night Patrol, which is kind of a throwback, classic 90s movies like Boys in the Hood. So with Night Patrol, it builds a world. It clearly defines the characters. It lets you know where it stands from the start. It's gritty, it's ambitious, but it does tell a story from beginning to end, a complete story from beginning to end. And then there's The Iron Lung, which is claustrophobic. It feels like you're trapped in this tiny can. This movie is about the tension and the psychological dread. You're fearing things and you're terrifying of things that you don't actually see. So The problem with both these movies for me is that they're over 2 hours. Iron Lung was a chore to get through. I really wanted to walk out on this one. It's really cool that there's a YouTuber that had an idea that ends up being a big theatrical release. That's very cool. But I think the scripting was just too thin. The concept, the premise, it was just too thin to fit in 2 hours. This would have been a really good episode of something like Black Mirror, where like 45 minutes tops, like 2 hours was overkill. And the same with Night Patrol. This Night Patrol is put together a little more. There's a little bit more to bite your teeth into with the scripting on this one, but it would have been better shorter. This would have been a really great episode of Tales from the Hood. So 35, 45 minutes. Of the two indie films this month, I would suggest seeing Night Patrol, especially if you're into horror, supernatural, vampires. Absolutely take a look. On to the mid-tier. Let's do a lightning round on the ones that fell in the middle for me. Stranger Things Season 5 season finale. It was a limited release at the AMC. It was a solid theatrical release, definitely for the fans. Marty Supreme fell in the middle for me. I know this is high on a lot of folks' lists, but I think it was just a lot of chaos that eventually led to nowhere. Is This Thing On, starring Will Arnett and directed by Bradley Cooper. This was charming. It was an interesting look at middle age and marriage. Then we have Dead Man's Wire, Anaconda, and Shelter. These were classic movies that did what they were supposed to do. Pretty average. I did enjoy them while watching, but they're not something I plan on revisiting. And then the absolute worst for me this month was Mercy. Mercy is an AI sci-fi starring Chris Pratt. This felt soulless. It felt humanless. I believe Chris Pratt filmed all his scenes within an afternoon. The script was predictable, but there are no chemistry. This is just a really odd one. I am going to suggest to miss this one. If you could only see one of the 14 I listed, The Bone Temple would be the one. So that brings us to the end of January. I'm going to be doing this again in February. I've already seen some really cool ones, so you can check those out. If this is your sort of thing, yeah, definitely subscribe, follow along. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel about Iron Lung? Did you see it? What about Mercy? Is that something you plan on seeing? Thanks for stopping by. What will I be watching next? Bye.